I'm thrilled to be welcoming a member of Parliament from the United Kingdom. He is the Prime Minister's anti-corruption champion. Donc pour notre
Third presentation, let's welcome a member of the UK Parliament, champion of anti-corruption, Honourable John Penrose.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction. And can I start by saying what an honour it is to be here as part of the OGP Summit. OGP is a wonderful organisation. The UK government is proud to be associated with it. We are proud to be part of the OGP family because you guys do such important work. Thank you so much for everything that you do. And can I also thank the Government of Canada, who are our hosts this evening. In fact, as a small advertisement, there is another summit on press freedom coming up in a couple of months' time, which we are co-hosting, the UK government and the Canadian government jointly together in London in a few months' time. And at a time when, as Sanjay rightly pointed out earlier on, democracy is under threat all around the world, I cannot think of a more important topic for us to be discussing. I hope that everybody here will support that in principle. So, I thought I was going to have to explain all about what beneficial ownership transparency was all about. But it turns out that some of you know. But for those of you who don't, I want to just take a pause and say an awful lot of beneficial ownership transparency is inspired by a guy who may be familiar to one or two of you. Al Capone. Al Capone was one of the worst gangsters around decades and decades ago, but they never put him in prison for being a gangster. They put him in prison for tax fraud. They sent him to Alcatraz because they were able to follow the money. And that's how they nailed him. That's how they tracked him down. And the modern day versions of Al Capone, the kleptocrats, the drug runners, the arms traffickers, those people are like him, and we can catch them, we can follow them, we can take their money away if we can just follow the money. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here today, because I want to launch, and we're launching it tomorrow, an international initiative to make global beneficial ownership, i.e. being able to find out who owns what, to follow the money properly. I want to make that a global standard. I want it to be something which applies right the way around the world, so that there will be no hiding place for crooks to launder their money, to hide their money, to invest their money in squillion-dollar penthouse apartments in London or in Manhattan or here in Ottawa or in anywhere, in Vancouver, it doesn't matter. I want to make it impossible for these people to hide their money away and to live high on the hog on dirty money and its proceeds. And so therefore what I want to do is to extend an invitation. Tomorrow we are launching this new international standard. We have a number of countries in this room this evening who are willing to join in and become part of it. But the question I have is, not all the countries in this room are going to be part of it just yet. So if you are not at the launch tomorrow, you're very welcome. Please come. And if your government, if you're not part of a government and your government isn't in the room tomorrow, ask them why. Get them to come along. This stuff matters. Let me tell you why it matters for a second, because it isn't just Al Capone. What it does, ownership transparency means we know who owns what and we can follow the money no matter where it goes. It means that if you are a kleptocrat, if you are an organized criminal, if you are a state actor who's stealing large chunks of the GDP of a developed world nation, you will bounce that money around the world. You will move it from company to company in different countries, from a trust to a foundation, in an attempt to keep ahead of the law enforcement bodies until you finally manage to get it clean enough to invest in somewhere where you want to live or which will yield a return for you. And the problem with it is that if you are an investigated officer, if you are a policeman anywhere in the world, you will follow that trail of money. And then you will encounter a secrecy jurisdiction and you will come up against a brick wall. That's what open ownership transparency registers kill. They knock down those walls. They make sure we can follow the money wherever it goes. We shine a light into the nastiest, darkest, murkiest corners of international finance and of countries, corporations all the way around the world to make sure that they are not being misused to hide the proceeds of crime. It is, ladies and gentlemen, it's the secret sauce. This stuff works magnificently well if we can only get it to happen more internationally than it does at the moment. Because I don't want just to move the problem from one country to another. I don't want, if we've got an open register, which everyone can check in Britain, I don't want to just move the problem out of Britain and move it from Britain to Canada. I don't want to move the problem from Canada to the USA. I don't want to move the problem around at all. I want to solve it. I want to end it. And we can do this, all of us together in this room, if we can get enough countries to sign up to the principle of every single country having a register that you and I can check to make sure we know who runs a company, who owns the controlling shareholdings in a company, and therefore we know that it cannot be being used to launder dirty money and to stash the proceeds of crime. And it works. It really works, because it means that concerned citizens right the way around the globe can see where their money is being sent. It means that if you are a digitally connected citizen in a less developed nation and you want to know where a certain local kleptocrat has hidden a large chunk of the GDP of your country, you can find out. You can go online and track it. And the sense of public rage, the sense of public outrage, the sense of public anger and determination to fix it is a very, very powerful emotion indeed, ladies and gentlemen. This is why it works incredibly well. It also works because it gives journalists, we've just been talking about press freedom, it gives journalists a huge opportunity to track down what's happening and to ferret around and find embarrassing facts which organized criminals and kleptocrats and drug runners will not want found. And so it's not only powerful, but it has to be international. But there's another reason why this stuff works well. The reason is it's incredibly cheap. It's really good value. You will not find a better way of rooting out corruption in any country in the world than being really, really upfront and honest and transparent about who owns and controls companies in those countries. There is no better way, ladies and gentlemen. You can set up one of these registers, a transparent, open register that everyone can see. You can set one of those up for less money than it costs to build a few kilometers of road. That's all. And the benefits, as I've just said, are enormous. So why aren't we doing it? Why aren't we all doing this? Well, the answer is it's only just catching on. A few of us have started, and that's why I'm here today, and that's why we're launching this initiative tomorrow. So please join in. It won't cost you much. Your Treasury secretaries will love you for doing this. It pays big time, and it has huge impact on the strength and the vitality and the energy and the growth of your economy as it helps to strip out the rents that are taken by the people who are corrupt in every single economy around the globe. And not only does it do that, but it picks on some very, very powerful people. So it may not cost a lot in terms of cash, but you will be picking in some cases some very, very powerful enemies. So the drug kingpins will hate you, but we don't care about them. And the gun runners will hate you, but we don't care about them either. And the kleptocrats and the organized criminals, they will all hate you, but you know who will love you. Not just your Treasury secretaries, they will care. Not just your banks, because they will then know that it's okay. They'll have a nice, easy place that they can check whether or not, when someone comes to them asking to open an account, how do they know if that person is honest? Well, all they've got to do is to go to the register, newly created, and they will have a quick, simple, cheap, authoritative answer as to whether or not they can trust this person who's opening an account with them. And not only their banks, It will also mean that your lawyers and your accountants will know whether or not they can take on someone's business and whether or not that person is reputable. And every single company in your economy will know whether or not they can contract with a particular customer or with a particular supplier and know whether or not they're going to get paid and whether or not it is safe to do business with that firm. This stuff, as I said, is the secret sauce, ladies and gentlemen. It really makes a difference. But the people who will thank you, the people who will thank you most for doing all of this is not the companies and the banks and your treasury secretaries, although they will be fans. The people who will thank you most are the poorest in your society. Whichever country you come from, it's the same in the UK, it'll be the same wherever you are. The people who will thank you most will be the poorest, the dispossessed, the least well off, the most powerless, because they, ladies and gentlemen, are the victims of corruption. They are the people who suffer most, and they are the ones who will gain the most if we do this. So please, if your government isn't there tomorrow, ask them why not, get them to come along, because if we get everybody, or at least most economies in the world, most countries in the world, joining in with making sure that there is nowhere for dirty money to hide, so we can shine that spotlight of transparency and light into those murky corners, then there is nothing that we cannot do to root out international corruption and get rid of dirty money, no matter which country we are in. Thank you very much.
I am fired up. This is important. I just love seeing politicians fighting for the people and fighting against corruption. And as my friend Anand says about plutocrats, plutes are going to plute. So we need politicians and government to hold them accountable.